Welcome back to In the Loop, folks. As a journalist, I tell y'all stories of what goes on in the world and the people who inhabit it. I'll even throw in a couple of jokes here and there to try and keep y'all entertained and engaged to varying degrees of success. But long before I was around, visual storytelling was done through puppets. Puppetry is one of the oldest types of performance art in America. Historical research shows its use by Native American communities as far back as the 16th century. More traditions were later brought to this country by immigrants from Spain, Italy, France, and Great Britain. That was still way back when TVs weren't a thing, just so you know. Whether they were on your fingers, your entire hand, or upheld by strings, puppets have served many purposes. They've historically been used to deliver social messages. They served as sacred objects in rituals or symbolic effigies in celebrations and carnivals, and of course, they've been used to provide entertainment. While puppetry may not still have that widespread appeal and use among adults in modern America as it once did, puppets do serve as engaging figures that can help support a variety of skills and learning among children. Think of Sesame Street, for example. Its characters, Muppets, can affect a child's social and emotional development by helping them learn and understand the world around them through safe, imaginative play. That's why it's important that the art of puppetry remains diverse, so that all children can find relatable education and inspiration in the art form. Sesame Street, for its part, has in recent years adopted changes and introduced characters that appeal to a wider group of children and introduce them to the issues of the world. For example, it has introduced new Muppets to teach children about topics like autism, HIV, and homelessness. Sesame Street introduced its first ever Asian American Muppet last year and also added 2 Black Muppets to help support racial literacy among kids. The issue of diversity is also important behind the screen. We know it matters that the writers and even puppeteers are also representative of the communities watching what happens on screen. Sesame Street's hiring of Megan Pipus Peace, the first Black woman puppeteer behind Gabrielle, a 6-year-old Black Muppet, is part of that push. Megan joins us now to talk about the significance of that achievement and what puppetry in general can help children achieve. Megan, thank you so much for joining us. I want to start with this. I'm from the South and I don't want to be rude. Do you mind introducing us to our other guest?
Of course. So I'm Megan. I'm a puppeteer and I'm also a ventriloquist. I brought one of my friends here with me, Birdie. Birdie, what are you doing?
Sorry about that. I was finishing up my lunch.
Birdie, were you nibbling there? What was going on, Birdie?
Yeah, I had some leftover feed down here.
Well, I gotta say, Birdie, nice to meet you too. We'll start with you, Megan, and we'll get to Birdie here in just a bit. For starters, Megan, tell us about your journey to Sesame Street. You know, what got you into puppetry to begin with, and how did you find your way to the peak of puppeteering?
So I started puppetry when I was about 10 years old. My church was starting a puppetry team and we were all learning how to do puppetry together as a team. And I was really shy as a kid. I lived in a shell for a number of years. And when we went to this conference to learn how to do puppetry, I was exposed to ventriloquism. And I was exposed to female ventriloquists, which at the time as a 10-year-old, I had never seen a ventriloquist in person, let alone a female ventriloquist. So I didn't know it was rare. And these women would sing with puppets and tell stories with their characters on stage. And as someone who lived inside of a shell, I really saw it as an opportunity to tell my own stories with a character and show beautiful conversations on stage. And so it really became a passion of mine all the way through high school and college.
What did your parents first think of this, burgeoning kind of interest that you had in puppeteering? Were they always supportive, or were they like, come on now, you got to find a little something else to get into?
Now, I thought that was going to be my parents' response, but I told my mom, and she's an educator. And I think when I told her, she realized that this would be a great way for me to open up. So she was really my champion in me learning. She called up all the libraries in Ohio to figure out which tapes we could get to our local library to rent. And she helped me find my first character. And so my parents were really my biggest supporters.
When did you first learn that you were the first Black woman puppeteer on Sesame Street, and I'm curious to know, what was your reaction to that news?
I didn't know that I was the first Black female puppeteer. I knew that I was the first to puppeteer Gabrielle live on set. But being at Sesame Street, there's so much history at Kaufman Astoria Studios where they record, and there's pictures going back 50 years of the crew. And looking at all the pictures, I didn't see any Black females puppeteers. And so I wonder, I wonder if there have been any others. And so after I left my first recording in September 2021, I asked one of the producers, I said, was I the first Black female puppeteer? And she said, yes, you were. And I couldn't be more proud.
I want to kind of talk about some of your background in finance. It's fascinating that you have this background, but you work with puppets, and those worlds, don't always seem the closest. They might seem a little far apart.
That's right.
But we know that you've been using your financial and puppetry skills to educate kids about money and how to handle finances. Could you tell us some about that program and what you're hoping kids will take away from their time with you?
I never expected my worlds of finance and puppetry to collide, but I was given the opportunity through the University of Cincinnati's Economics Center to bring some of the characters that they had within their financial literacy curriculum to life through puppetry. And so we've produced 6 videos that are already out right now, from a range of topics, from supply and demand to what are goods and services. Right now, we're working on 6 new videos that will support their curriculum that teach relative costs, cost-benefit analysis, and budgeting, all through songs. And they're all very catchy. And kids will be able to watch a 3 to 4 minute video about supply and demand or cost benefit analysis, and hopefully have a really basic foundational understanding of finance without knowing it.
These kids going to be moving different. They're going to be like,
Yeah.
no, you need to subtract that, add that. No, you're doing that wrong. They're going to be little math geniuses by the time.
Yeah, they're going to say, what's the opportunity cost? That's what I want them to say.
What's my ROI? Says
Exactly.
the kid in preschool. What? Hold up. Not to be reductive, but your story is also one about representation in children's programming.
Right.
Thinking about that, why is it important to have that representation on and off screen? And one of the examples I'm thinking about, there was a clip of Gabrielle and Prairie on Sesame Street learning that Gabrielle's hair is a bit different. It's soft and coily, unlike her friend's hair, which is straight and blonde. Why is it so important not only to have the representation on screen, but off screen as well?
Yeah, that type of content is monumental. It's something that I wish I had as a young kid. I grew up thinking that for my hair to be pretty, it had to be straight. And unfortunately, a lot of my community around me, was enforcing that. But if I would have had that representation on screen saying that our differences are beautiful, that would have helped me personally so much. And so I know how much representation is important because it's affected me in my own life. So I'm just so excited to be able to play Gabrielle and create content that I know little girls like me will use as they become adults.
I've been rude because I've been throwing you a lot of questions, but I'd like to bring in Birdie here. First of all, Birdie, thank you also for joining us. I'm kind of curious to know, tell me a little bit about yourself, Birdie, and what it is you want people to learn from your experience.
Yes, I'd like the people to know that I am available for bookings. Yes, I'm available for shows as a singer.
You're a singer.
Yes. In CD, I have prepared an original song for you.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear it, Birdie.
Okay.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above, a girl so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Yeah.
Thank you, Birdie.
really showing out. Not only did Birdie come on this show and say that Birdie is available for bookings, but now Birdie is outshining both of us, and I'm not sure if I can allow this to go on any further. Megan Pifus Peace is a ventriloquist and puppeteer, and also a good friend of Birdie, probably the most esteemed guest we've ever had on the show. Thank you both so much for joining us on In the Loop. We appreciate it.
Thank you, CB.